Let's face it, guys, the 2024 summer transfer window has been pretty boring. Not a lot of activity is going on, especially among the big clubs, and it has left many fans bored and frustrated. But why is this happening? What could be the reason? Is there even an explanation for it? Well, there is, and that's what we're here to tell you today. This is why the 2024 summer transfer window is the worst in ages. First and foremost, we need to address the state of the transfer market. The truth is, the market is ruined. Feeder clubs, which were once content with reasonable fees for their players, are now asking for insane sums in transfer fees for average talent. It's like every club thinks they have the next Kylian Mbappe or Erling Haaland on their hands, and they want to charge accordingly. But it's not just the clubs. Agents are also a significant part of the problem. They are demanding outrageous terms and bonuses for players who are, at best, average. These agents know the market is inflated, and they are trying to squeeze every last penny out of clubs that are desperate to strengthen their squads. Then there are the players themselves. Many of them, emboldened by the fees and salaries commanded by their peers, are asking for huge amounts in wages. Even if their performances don't justify it, they see the money being thrown around and think, why not me? As a result, many of the big clubs don't want to be strong-armed into overpaying for these players who won't make much of a difference in their teams, so they've decided to just stay away. Speaking of big clubs, a lot of them are either broke or have lost their pull or even both. Let's start with Barcelona, a club that once had the power to attract any player in the world. Now, they're struggling to sign Nico Williams, a player they would have snapped up with ease in previous years. The financial struggles at Barcelona are well documented, with the club having to offload players and restructure contracts just to stay afloat. Then there's Juventus, a club that's fallen far from its perch as one of Europe's elite. Their biggest signing so far this summer is Douglas Luiz, a player who, while talented, isn't exactly the marquee name fans were hoping for. Juventus' financial woes are partly to blame, as the club has been hit hard by the pandemic and poor financial management. Inter Milan is another example of a once mighty club that's now scraping the bottom of the barrel. Their new business this summer is essentially just loan deals from last year that had obligations to buy. This kind of business is indicative of a club that's trying to get by on a shoestring budget, rather than making the kind of big money moves that would excite fans. And then there's Tottenham Hotspur, a club that's always had aspirations of joining the European elite, but has never quite made it. Their biggest signing this summer is an 18-year-old from the Championship, a move that's hardly going to strike fear into their Premier League rivals. It's a reflection of where Spurs are right now, a club that's more focused on building for the future than competing at the highest level in the present. It's not just the clubs and the market that are to blame for this dull transfer window. Another reason for the lack of excitement is the quality of international tournaments we saw this summer. Traditionally, after an international tournament like the World Cup, Euros, or Copa America, we see a flurry of huge signings inspired by standout performances. Clubs are eager to snap up the next big star, who's made a name for themselves on the global stage. In the past, we've seen Real Madrid sign Mesut Özil and James Rodriguez after their performances at the 2010 and 2014 World Cups, respectively. Inter Milan signed Denzel Dumfries after his performances at Euro 2020, and Chelsea signed Enzo Fernandez after his impressive showing at the 2022 World Cup. Even Cristiano Ronaldo made a big money move after the 2018 World Cup. But this time around, the international stage has not produced the same level of excitement. All we've gotten so far are Ricardo Calafiori to Arsenal and Robin Lenormand to Atletico Madrid transfers that hardly set the world alight. It's a sign that international football, at least this summer, has not been the breeding ground for big transfers that it usually is. The lack of standout performers and the generally low quality of tournaments have left clubs with little inspiration to make bold moves. Now, of course, this window actually produced a very huge transfer in the form of Kylian Mbappe to Real Madrid, but it didn't really do much in terms of making the window feel lively. You know why? Because of one man, Fabrizio Romano. This man is so good at his job that it has ruined the entire field of transfer windows. Romano has become the go-to source for transfer news, and his "here we go" catchphrase has become synonymous with transfer confirmations. The problem is, he gives his "here we go" on transfers long before they are made official, so when the clubs finally announce, it's already old news. On a normal day, hearing that Mbappe has moved to Real Madrid would break the internet, but it didn't really have the effect because everyone and their dog already knew that the Frenchman would be moving to the Spanish capital several months before it was announced. So, that whole bombshell feeling we used to get from big transfer news has been taken away from us. In fact, for a transfer window to get really spicy, Fabrizio would have to get something wrong. Imagine if Mbappe ended up going to Arsenal instead of Madrid. This entire window would have lit up just like that, but that guy hardly gets these things wrong. Once he says, "here we go," just go and focus on other things. Another factor contributing to this boring transfer window is that clubs are becoming more cautious with their spending. The financial landscape of football has changed dramatically over the past few years, with clubs becoming more mindful of their budgets. The pandemic hit the football world hard, and many clubs are still recovering from the financial impact. Clubs are no longer throwing money around like they used to. Instead, they're carefully considering each transfer, weighing the risks and rewards. This cautious approach has led to fewer big money moves and more prudent signings. Clubs are focusing on getting value for money rather than making a splash in the transfer market. This cautiousness is also evident in the way clubs are handling contracts. We're seeing more clubs opting to extend the contracts of their key players rather than entering the market for new signings. This approach allows them to maintain stability within the squad and avoid the inflated prices of the current market. Another reason why this transfer window has been so dull is the lack of emerging superstars. In previous years, we've seen young talents burst onto the scene, catching the eye of the footballing world and earning big moves to top clubs. Players like Mbappe, Haaland, and João Felix made headlines with their performances and were quickly snapped up by Europe's elite. Final thoughts: basically, the 2024 summer transfer window has given us nothing, and that's due to various reasons which we have discussed here, from the inflated market and financial struggles of big clubs to the decline in the quality of international tournaments and the impact of Saudi Arabia. There are many factors at play. But if you think there are more reasons why this window has been boring, tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts on why the 2024 summer transfer window has been the worst in ages. But hey, let's not give up totally, right? There are still a couple of weeks left in the window. It can still be saved, can't it? Imagine Barcelona bringing Neymar back to Spain this summer. We would all be alive again. And for those who don't agree with Justos who think the 2024 summer transfer window has not been the worst in ages, feel free to make your case in the comments and tell us why you think so. We will be reading through. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye.